Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. On this channel, we talk about problems people face in their day-to-day life. Let's start with the video.
I've been married for more than 5 years now, but we're still trying to be parents. We've tried everything and now we're starting to lose hope. All I ever wanted was to be a loving mom and to build a healthy family and a beautiful house. My situation is pushing me towards depression and I don't know how to cope with it. Although my husband is very supportive and tries his best to keep me happy, something that gives me life. Until one morning, I woke up all nauseous and disgusted. I had to get up and make my husband breakfast before he left for work, but my body was just not cooperating. He knew something was wrong, but he refrained from saying anything. Rather, he went to the kitchen and made both of us some freshly made pancakes from scratch. They were extremely delicious and filled me up. I just wanted to go into a deep food coma after that yummy breakfast. Since Louis was getting late for work, he finished up his plate, kissed me goodbye, and left. I thought it was just the after effects of depression, so I decided to stay in bed all day. But it didn't work out for me because my body was extremely uncomfortable and I didn't know how to deal with it. So I just called my best friend Cassie. She picked up the phone on the first ring. I told her how I was feeling and she immediately got concerned. She asked me what I've been eating recently, and when she didn't find a problem in my diet, she convinced me to take a pregnancy test, since these are usually the initial symptoms of pregnancy. I put the phone down, dreading the experience, but still hopeful for the good news. I instantly ran to the nearest pharmacy store and grabbed some pregnancy test strips. The first thing I wanted to do was call my husband. However, I held myself back from doing so since I didn't want to disappoint him in case it came back negative. I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw those 2 stripes shouting back at me. So I took another 2 tests and all of them came back positive. I couldn't contain myself and shouted at the top of my lungs, "I'm pregnant! I can't believe it!" The next thing I know, I'm on a call with my husband, Louis. He was beyond happy about the news and couldn't wait to leave work to come back to me. That evening, when he came back, we celebrated the news with a bottle of exquisite wine. Even though I couldn't drink, he wanted to spend the whole night on the couch talking about our baby and the things we want to do for him. We talked till midnight while he kept sipping on his wine and emptied the whole bottle by himself. We discussed every detail about our future with the baby, and it felt fulfilling. I could feel the baby inside me, and it gave me chills. Throughout the whole night, Louis kept touching my belly here and there to get a piece of the baby. He was finally going to be a dad. He went deep into thought, and when I inquired if he was okay, he just stared at me and said nothing. However, I knew that night was not going to end well. After a couple of minutes, he said, "One time when I was about 10 years old, my mom was called out to the school." Update 1. Louis was a reserved kid in middle school and hence was subject to bullying throughout the years. Until one day he stepped up for himself and refused to get bullied by Tom, which, however, resulted in him getting physically beaten and harassed more. I learned my lesson that day and didn't bother to discuss the matter with my parents or the school counselor. But giving up didn't get me too far since the next morning, my mother was summoned to the school on urgent notice. When I stepped into the principal's office, I saw my mom fuming with anger and rage. I couldn't understand what was happening until the principal questioned me. "Tom told me you've been bullying him, and yesterday you used physical force against him, which resulted in some injuries as well?" Louis was in shock when he heard the principal. There were no words he could use to prove his innocence, but he still tried to make an effort by saying, "It is the other way around, Mr. Malcolm. I've always been the victim of bullying and not the culprit. My mom cut me off and assured the principal that she will take care of the matter and it will not happen again." Throughout the whole way home, Mom didn't say a word to me or try to inquire about the other half of the story. I was terrified of going home, but I had no other choice. I was praying that Mom would give me a chance to explain and believe what I had to say to her. But deep inside my heart, I knew it was never going to happen. When we reached home, she came out of the driver's seat and aggressively pulled me out of the car. Tears started streaming down my face as I kept repeating, "I'm sorry, Mom, I will never do it again." But she refused to consider any word of mine. She dragged me to the basement of the house, which has not been opened since as far as I can remember. My dog, Max, kept following us through the stairs, protesting against my mom by barking as loudly as he could. She stopped in front of a locked metal door. She opened the door and threw me in that dark room that had no windows or light. Max came running to me before Mom locked the door behind him and left me in that prison. The room was dusty and completely empty, which scared me to death since I have nyctophobia, fear of darkness or night. Update 2. My vision started blurring and I could hear Max bark from very far away. I didn't know what was happening, but it was not very pleasing. I was unconscious for 3 days, and when I woke up, I was in bed, my dad sitting beside me. His face was pale and he looked weak. I didn't know what happened when I was knocked out, but one thing I knew for sure was that I didn't want to see my mom's face. The moment I think about her, the memories came flashing back. I was helpless and weak when she left me all alone in the darkness for a mistake I didn't commit. She didn't have mercy on me, even though I'm her only son and I loved her to the moon and back. Yet I was nothing more than a piece of flesh for her. My veins popped out when my mind replayed the collection of events that occurred that night. My body started shaking uncontrollably, which woke my dad up and he held me in his arms. He told me, "Everything is going to be okay, son. I'm here with you." I didn't believe anything he said. All I could think about was the cruelty that brought me to this stage. The pain overpowered my body and I blacked out once again. When I woke up again, I could hear my parents fighting. Though the voices were distant, I could still hear what they were talking about. My dad was aggrieved about how my mom had treated me like a dog without even letting me explain. I was relieved to learn that my dad cared about me, and he refused to let anyone step over me just how my mom did. I felt protected, which gave me the strength and life. My dad decided to divorce my mom and take custody of me, so we can eliminate the toxicity in our lives and make a house where we can live with peace and love. Nonetheless, my resentment for my mom didn't wash away with time, and I refused to forgive her for her wrongdoings my entire life. Update 3. I looked at Louis teary-eyed as I embraced him in my arms and said, "I'm so sorry you had to go through this." Despite the fact that I felt miserable for him, but my feelings of rage were more prominent, I wanted to rip his mother apart into 1,000 pieces the moment I saw her in front of me. I took a moment to digest all the information before I asked him, "What happened to your mother after she was divorced?" He said he didn't know where she went after that, which I was relieved about. There was so much I wanted to say to him to share his pain, but I couldn't form words. I closed my eyes for a couple of minutes and said, "I'll protect our baby with my life. I will not let anything bad happen to him." He looked pleased to hear my words and said, "I'm sure you will. You will be the best mother in the world." We winded up the night there and went straight to bed. He slept right away, but I couldn't sleep after hearing what had happened to him. I was terrified and fuming with anger. I couldn't believe someone could do such a thing with anyone, especially a mother. I kept tossing and turning all night, and eventually dozed off in Louis' arms. This is so relatable to me. Once I asked my mom to get me braces when I was around 14. So she told me to earn the money through part-time jobs, and then she'll take me to the orthodontist. I was so excited about the offer that I worked all day long to gather enough money for my jaw alignment. I sacrificed my mental and physical health for this. When I had sufficient money, I asked her to make an appointment for me. The next day, when I came back from school, she was not home. In the evening, she came back home and announced she got her Botox done and she borrowed my money. She'll give it back to me as soon as possible. Since then, I have not gotten my money back. I'm so sorry to hear that. This is straight up theft. Such people should not have the right to have kids. They are monsters in the shape of adults. I can feel you because I also went through a similar devastating experience. I still sometimes get nightmares. I hope things get better for both of us. I'm glad your father divorced that bee. She doesn't deserve even an ounce of happiness and love. I hope she burns in hell. If I was you, I would have sued her long ago. The mental and physical pain would have been devastating for you to go through. Here is the next story. I, 30M, was supposed to get married this summer. Our honeymoon was going to be in Italy. The wedding was cancelled. I don't want to get into it because this post isn't about the wedding. All I'm going to say is that my sister doesn't like me because of it. My sister and my fiancé were really close. They still spend time together even though I told her I don't like it, and that my ex really hurt me. My sister told me she didn't care. I tried talking to my parents about it, but they told me I need to get over it. I was having dinner with my parents. My dad mentioned my ex and sister dropping by earlier and having lunch with them. I was upset. My ex and I haven't spoken since she called off the wedding, so I assumed she came over for me. I pressed my parents for more information. They told me my sister and my ex were going on vacation together to the Amalfi Coast. That was supposed to be our honeymoon. I felt sick to my stomach that my ex was taking my sister on our honeymoon. She got mad at this and called me an a-hole. She told me she's allowed to have friends. She doesn't need my permission for anything. She told me she loves me, but she can't put her life on hold for me. I wasn't asking her to put her life on hold, just not go on my honeymoon and not be friends with my ex. I always knew she had a little crush on my ex, and I told her my ex isn't gonna date her, not even out of desperation. She hung up on me and refused to call me back. I guess she told my parents because the next day, both of them told me how disappointed they were in me. They told me it was a low blow and I need to get over myself. I didn't expect them to take sides at all, but they're refusing to see my point of view. Both my sisters and my ex refused to speak to me, so I need to know if I really messed up or if they're overreacting. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Edit. Since it apparently matters, I didn't cheat on my ex. She thinks I did because she's refusing to listen to my side of the story. I was having a weekly lunch with an old friend from high school, and when my ex found out, she assumed I was cheating. She only thought this because it was one of my ex-girlfriends. I didn't tell my fiancé who I was meeting because I didn't want her to get jealous or upset. It was only supposed to be one lunch, but it became a weekly thing, and it was already too late to say anything. Edit 2. I never cheated or had an affair. My ex, sister, and fiancé knew each other when they were in high school. My fiancé and sister didn't like my ex-girlfriend because she was a bully. That's why I didn't say anything. You're the a-hole. Based on your replies, the money you spent on wedding and honeymoon are paid back to you. You don't get to tell your sister where she can go and with whom. It's not your honeymoon anymore, just a holiday. You being super cagey about the reason for the cancelled wedding leads me to believe you're the reason behind it for doing something shizzy, like cheating, lying, etc. So you have no say in what she does with her life or her holiday. Your edit just makes it worse, lol. It sounds like you were having an emotional affair and refused to accept that this is cheating because, well, it's not like we touched or sent nudes. You're the a-hole. Although it hurts that your sister and ex are friends, I promise it hurts your ex 1,000 times more to find out you were going on weekly dates with your ex. You're the a-hole. You refuse to say why your ex called off the wedding. Your entire family seems to be on your ex's side. Your ex paid you back for your half of the honeymoon. It's pretty clear the breakdown of the relationship was your fault. You have no rights over what your ex does with her time or her money, and why shouldn't she go on the vacation she booked, planned, and paid for? Why can't she go with a supportive friend? Why can't your sister spend time with a woman who is supposed to be a member of her family? Here's the next story. So, me, 26M, and my girlfriend Rachel, 27F, have been dating for 2.5 years. We have lived together and have for the past year. So I don't really F with her sister Ashley, 31F, at all. Like, I'll let her in the house whenever she comes over and give her a little wave, but that's it. The reason is that I don't think she's a good person. When we met, she was with her longtime boyfriend, and at that point husband. They had been married for 4 years. I liked her husband, and he was one of the few guys my age at the family events. Well, about 2 years ago, Ashley left her husband for an older rich guy with 2 kids. Didn't even talk to her husband. She left divorce papers on the bed. I was the one who had to show up to make sure he was okay. To make matters worse, the guy was married, so she moved right in after the guy left his wife and kids. My girlfriend was irate and didn't speak to her sister for almost a year, but eventually they started having a relationship again. But my girlfriend knows I don't like her sister and never forced us to connect after. I didn't attend the second wedding. Another reason I don't like her sister is that she's lazy and entitled. She's attractive and has always gotten by on her looks, even claiming that she only went to college for her Mrs. degree. She has never had a job. So now to my comment. I came home yesterday to Rachel and her sister on the couch. Ashley was hysterical and hyperventilating. I asked what was wrong. Rachel walked over to me and told me what happened. Basically, Ashley showed up to her house and she was locked out. Her husband sent her a text that he was in love with someone else. She had moved in. And all of Ashley's things, along with the divorce papers, were at an apartment that he would pay the lease for a year, but they were done. I said, oh well, at least the kids won't hate you anymore. Ashley always complained about her stepkids hating her. I then went back to our room to change. When I came back out to make food, Ashley asked me, is that really all you have to say? I said, yep, and went about making a sandwich. When I looked up, Ashley was staring at me. And I said this exactly. What do you want, Ashley? Do you want me to feel bad for you? It's called karma. Just make sure the next one is single. And I walked back to my room. Ever since, my girlfriend has been upset with me. She said that she understands I don't like her sister, but I could have faked it for a minute. I said that she knows I'm not good at faking, and her sister got what has been coming to her for a long time. She's been doing shizzy things to people since high school, but she is never held accountable, so karma happened. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She went fishing when she asked if it was really all you had to say. She could have left it alone, but she didn't. Coddling and comforting a person like that doesn't teach them anything about taking responsibility for their shizzy actions. Not the a-hole. You like this dude would even call him a friend, I bet. If someone hurt one of my friends that deeply, I probably wouldn't be nice to them either. Sure, you could have walked away and said nothing, but once she came at you, what did she expect? Sorry that the man you destroy my friend's self-worth for is now wrecking yours? You're the a-hole, but that's not necessarily a bad thing in this case. She has made some bad choices in her life and they've come back to bite her. Maybe what she needs is some tough love or an in-your-face reaction like you did. My guess is that her parents, as well as your girlfriend, have done this her whole life. So now she just expects everyone to take pity on her when she screws her life up. Maybe she'll think next time before doing something like this.